Hi, I'm Adrian from EXploringEA. In this video I'm going to go through the process of creating a simple EA form. The output from this process will be a form definition, and this is used at runtime to define the editor form that is presented to the user. Before starting, I'm just going to run through a few terms that I might use in this video just to make sure that they're clear. The EA form is the resulting element editor that is produced. It will match a particular element and one or more stereotypes. It's defined in the form definition, which defines the contents, layout and appearance of each of the items which we refer to as controls within that form. And the control definition for each of these controls is held within the form definition and defines the individual control and their attributes. Creating a form is relatively straightforward. There's an eaForms diagram and an associated toolbox that we use. So we create an eaForms diagram. It asks information about the target form that we're trying to design. We can then add controls. Once again, it will request information for those specific controls. And during this process, we can view the form as it will look at runtime. We can refine any of the detail, both on the layout and specifically on the controls in the form using the form editor or the control editor. So let's get started with developing a use case form. I'm going to start by creating a package in my eaForms, walking through creating an eaForm view. I'm going to give it the name use case example. It's automatically going to add the diagram, and I want it to open as we're going to work on it straight away. It prompts us for the diagram. We want to select it's of eaForms type, and there is only one type at the moment, the eaForms form design. So I press OK, and eaForms presents us with a dialog where it's asking us to give a name to the form, a unique name. As we don't have many examples in this model, I can just use case example. It then gives us the choice of selecting either from element types within the core elements or from one of the MDGs as currently enabled in the model. I'm going to stay with the core elements and then look at the drop down list of element types and select use case. Equally, the form can be designed for one or more stereotypes. By default it applies to all, and I'm going to leave it in that condition. It also requires us to specify a description. It's useful to put something meaningful that might be not only meaningful to the forms designer but potentially to the users, as this information is available to them later. So we can then put that description and save. eaForms then creates a basic default form populating with a few controls elements. We have a label which is given the name element name. We have an element name as a text box, and we have two buttons, cancel and save. If we go to the form designer's manage eaForms design library, we can see that our new form has been added to the bottom of the list. If we select it and then press the view, we can immediately see what it will look like at runtime. Now I'm going to go to the eaForms toolbox, which is associated with the eaForms diagram, and from there we can see that we've got a set of controls, items that we can add to this form. So I'm going to add a few items to the form just to show you what they look like. We'll start with a rich text box. In this case, it's presenting us with a request to specify the source of the information it's going to display and that we will be able to edit. For the rich text box, we enable the element notes, or we can specify a tagged value. In this case, I'm just going to use the element notes, and I'll save that and reposition it into a location that makes some sense. I'm then going to add a combo box because I want to present the status. Once again, the information presented to us is relevant to the specific control. I want to display the status of the element when it's presented, and I want to select from the reference list of information that's available from EA for status. It will then display in the list values those specific values it's retrieved from the reference data. We can overwrite these, and in fact, in our case, let's say that we don't want to allow the person using this editor to be able to set approve. So we remove that item from the list and then save. Now, of course, what we should have done is put some labels up here. So I go back and add some labels. These are the notes. And this was the status. As it's a use case, it's often useful to have the actors in there as well. So I'm just going to tighten up the layout a bit. In fact, I can use some of EA's tools, drawing tools, and I'm going to add, in fact, let's go sideways. I'm going to add a list view, and I want to add the actors. So I select from the contents. Now, the contents here for a list view include all the element collections plus some specific gadgets that we provide, one of which is an actors gadget, and I'll show you that in a minute, but I'll set it for the moment. So we now have the actors. Add the status. I'll just move some buttons across, resize the form, and let's just line all the bottoms of these up just to make a token gesture. We can use all the EA drawing capabilities. We can line the lefts up to these, and we can line the tops of those. There we are. So now let's go back via the Manage eaForms Design Library and press the View button, and we can see what is displayed. So that would be an example form. It's displaying the element name, notes, status, and if you just remember that we'd actually taken out the approved, so the user can't set approved, and here we have a potential list of actors. If we want to edit the individual controls, we can simply double click on them and it will bring up the control definition editor, and we can see the information both in terms of a general description about what the item is, its geometry, appearance, and for example we may change colors, fonts, the look and feel, borders, basically elements that can be changed in Windows, attributes, and the source. So if we wanted to change it, we could change the source element. And one important feature we have in for our controls is the ability to provide a tooltip. So you could actually put some information that may be useful to the user. This is the element name. Clearly very trivial, but maybe useful in some instances. So if we now view our form, we can now hover over our element name text box and it prompts us with the tooltip. There we are. That is a simple EA form. Clearly there is scope for the designer to include other content, change the layout, change the appearance, and tailor the forms to meet the needs of their organization. In this video we have illustrated the steps that a form designer needs to take in developing an EA Forms. I hope you found this video useful, and do check out our other videos on EA Forms. Thank you.